Well, good morning, Little Masters, and welcome to today's Tolkien Times. I'm Alan, the man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast, and today's Tolkien Times is my way of bringing you a little bit of Middle-earth every single day. Now, of course, if the few minutes you get here isn't enough, be sure to listen to the Prancing Pony podcast. 7 years worth of long episodes. We're talking an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, sometimes more, as we walk our way through the Legendarium. But let's get started today with Fandom Friday. Now, every Friday, we hope to get a chance to sit down and visit with somebody from the wider world of the Tolkien fandom, from artists to academics, from cosplayers to collectors, from Elvish experts to masters of maps. Fandom Friday is a chance to meet your fellow Tolkien fans, even if they're not as alliterative as I clearly am, and maybe even learn what niches of the community you might be interested in exploring. So today, we're welcoming a familiar face to today's Tolkien Times as we're joined by Matt from the Nerd of the Rings. Sean and I were on Matt's show a ways back, and then we all met for the first time in Oxford a little over a year ago when we took that trip to see some pre-release footage from The Rings of Power. That mild disappointment aside, his work impressed me so much, or I was so desperate, you pick, that I invited him on to the Prancing Pony podcast to co-host all 5 episodes on the Siege of Gondor. We had an amazing time. He did a fantastic job, and I hope to work with him again very soon. Oh, wait, I'm working with him right now. Matt,
That's right.
Welcome to today's Tolkien Times and Fandom Friday.
Alan, it's a pleasure to be on today's Tolkien Times and to chat with you.
Yeah.
Once again, it's always a fun time.
Always. In fact, listeners, I'll just tell you now, we've probably already been talking for 45 minutes before I even bothered to hit record. That's just how things go. So,
and we'll probably have another 45 after we hit stop.
I won't be surprised if it happens. So, Matt, Fandom Friday is about what folks bring to the Tolkien fandom. Everybody does something different, and you've sure brought a lot. Now, talk to us a little bit about the Nerd of the Rings. What turned your love of Tolkien into a desire to create these incredible lore videos for the rest of us to enjoy?
Yeah, so I've been a videographer by trade for, probably close to 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
And I was working in higher ed, and they put myself and another guy, one of my coworkers, in charge of the YouTube channel. And they said, you guys seem like you know technology, so why don't you learn how to do YouTube and do our
You guys
YouTube?
know how to use a BlackBerry. Can
Yes.
you do a YouTube video?
That's right, basically. So we spent months just, researching YouTube best practices and stuff.
Right.
And I just kind of had this, this feeling like I could do this on my own with something that I love.
Right.
And the only thing that ever really made sense to do was something Tolkien related.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired by one of my favorite Tolkien books is The Children of Hurin.
Yes.
And as I'm reading it, because through Peter Jackson's films and everything, like I'm pretty familiar with the Middle Earth map, but I wasn't as familiar with the Beleriand map.
Oh, yes, the first stage map.
Yeah, so the first stage map, I'm reading through The Children of Hurin, and we're name dropping all these places like Brethil, and we're talking about going and staying with or staying with Thingol for a little while,
Right?
Going
the girdle
to all
of
these
Melian,
places.
and where is this?
Yes,
Yeah.
and there's all these places, and Nargothrond, and I'm like, where the heck are these places?
And the
I
River
have no-
Sirion that everything
Yes.
seems to be connected to. Yeah.
right? And Hithlum, and then we learn about the Nirnaeth,
Orlomen, and yeah.
yes, there's so many
And
locations.
Fauglith. Yeah.
And on Fauglith, yes, I love it. And there's all these locations, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, okay, those are cool names. Like,
So
they're
you
fun
had
to
not
say.
listened to season 1, the map of Beleriand that we did in the Prancing Pony podcast.
I had not at that time.
For
My
shame. All right.
So that was part of the seed of an idea.
Yeah.
Was I loved looking at the maps while reading the book to give me a sense of place. And as I looked around, what as you do when you look at a YouTube channel, you think, okay, like, is someone already doing this? Because I would enjoy this content if someone is already doing it.
Right.
And I didn't see anybody incorporating maps and like putting, because Tolkien put so much thought into the geography. And
Yes.
I've always been a huge fan of the geography and, the book, The Atlas of Middle-earth, I absolutely love.
Karen Wynne Fonstad's, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so I said, well, I want to do lore videos and explain, about this world that I love. Hopefully it will drive people to the books. That's always been my thing. I love when people say that, my videos encourage them to read the books or help them get through the Silmarillion for the first time. And so my first video that really took off was The Complete Travels of Gandalf.
Yeah.
And it's like
that's when you first came across my radar video as well, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's like a 25-minute long video, and I just went through. It took all kinds of research to track everywhere Gandalf ever went, and it's a cool way. It kind of like connects a lot of dots in his life, and it's amazing. I love that every time I dive in and research on a topic, I learn something or make some new connection.
100% true. Yeah.
Yes, and it's just incredible to me. I was just doing a video talking about Elros, and and I start you start going down rabbit holes naturally when you start researching.
We call them digressions, and it's a professional thing now for us. Yeah.
So even that, like I was thinking about how the Númenórean kings would give up their lives, like they they would get to a certain age while they're still in their right minds, their bodies are good. Like, we as people would naturally want to cling to our lives as long as possible. And they would just be at peace and go. And that plays out thousands of years later with Aragorn.
Yeah,
and
it does.
And you could go through, I'm really going down a rabbit hole here, but you could go through so many different things with Aragorn where he is, the fulfillment or a return to form or, something that happened thousands of years later.
Yeah.
And the fact that this all came from Tolkien blows my mind every time.
I know. One guy created this entire universe of
incredible.
Yeah. It really is.
I went way off topic there.
That's okay. No, what that does is it shows me the passion. It shows my listeners, the passion that you have for Tolkien and what it is that made you decide, hey, I want to do these videos, because you've done a spectacular job with them. I mean, you've been doing this now for a while. Your understanding of the fandom has grown, its strengths and its challenges. So I want to ask you a question about the fandom now. What is something that has pleasantly surprised you about the Tolkien fandom in your years of doing this?
I absolutely adore this fandom. I am a nerd in so many ways and in so many fandoms, like
Star Wars.
Star Wars. I actually know a lot of Harry Potter because my kids are really into it. So I'm pretty darn good at Harry Potter trivia, actually. And I grew up on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's like one of my more obscure ones. That
proof that you're just a few years younger than me.
A few years. I am in that late 80s period. So I have all these nerdy loves, but the fandom that stands above all is the Tolkien fandom, because they are so, it's so much like a family, and it doesn't matter what your familiarity level is. Like there are people who know this stuff and memorize it to such an insane extent.
Yes.
That they would wipe either you or I,
or both.
They would wipe the floor with us in a trivia with some of the most obscure things that would blow your mind.
Many of them came to the PPP moot in October of last year.
I remember that.
I was blown away.
Yes. And like, but it doesn't matter, like it's not, nobody judges you based on the number of things that or
absolutely,
if you don't know, if you can't name all of Aragorn's ancestors in order, no one's going to belittle you for that.
But if you can't name the sons of Feanor, no, I'm kidding.
Pushing it.
Yeah. It's a joke.
Or if you think Feanor did nothing wrong.
Now that really is an unforgivable sin. Yeah. we gotta be real clear there. I'll even allow people who think that Balrogs actually have physical wings.
I was just going to say Balrogs
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
That's so funny that I was just going to say that.
Great minds think alike, my friend.
But yeah, no, it's it's just such a wonderful, welcoming fandom that is like a family when you get together. And it doesn't matter if you came from the movies like I originally did, or if you grew up reading the books decades ago. Yeah, everyone is just happy to enjoy this thing that we enjoy together.
Agreed.
And it's absolutely second to none as far as fandoms in my eyes.
100%. And that's one of the reasons why I have no problem pouring as much into it as I do. And I'm sure it's the same thing for you. So for those of you who still have not watched your amazing content, where can they find that content and how can they follow you?
Yeah, it is on YouTube. So youtube.com/Nerd of the Rings.
That's easy enough. Anything on socials that people need to be following?
Oh, sure. Yes, I am on Twitter at Nerd of the Rings 1 and Instagram at Nerd of the Rings.
All right. Well, that's it for today's Fandom Friday. Thank you, Matt, for joining us today. But folks, come back next week as we visit with somebody else who does something else in the Tolkien fandom. I don't know who yet. That's the exciting thing about this. Now, if you're interested in joining me here on today's Tolkien Times for a future Fandom Friday, let me know by emailing barliman@theprancingponypodcast.com. Folks, plan on joining me again tomorrow, though, on today's Tolkien Times as we wrap up our inaugural week with the very first Silmarillion Saturday. Who knows? Maybe we'll even talk about the maps. That's an exciting topic.
There we go.
Please like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're listening on a podcast app, be sure to subscribe to make sure every episode gets downloaded to your device. Follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And in the words of Faramir, go with the goodwill of all good men. Thanks again.